Hi, welcome to Free Spirit and welcome to a quick spirit message and tip that often comes up in the comments, and it literally happened to me recently, so it's very easy to answer. But when you're doing a tarot reading and it feels off, like quote unquote, it feels off, what's happening? So I just wanted to address this. It comes up a lot again in the comments, and it just happened recently to me, so it's really very easy to explain, especially if you're doing a reading for yourself about a particular issue or for a period of time. So besides your energy, I always say it's not the best time to do a reading if you're feeling tired or depleted or unfocused or overwhelmed. It uses your energy for a reading, so you definitely want to be in a very good energy space when you're doing it. So not to do a reading when you're too tired or not focused or just feeling depleted. But often, and this is what it never comes up, we don't talk about, but a lot of the times there is literally, besides your energy, feeling that way, often there's something else happening that's really beyond you, like quote unquote beyond you. Energy, so I want to get into that. When it's not about your energy, it's not about you being tired, depleted, not focused, that kind of thing. But there's often something that's happening that's really beyond you. So let's talk about that, because this became very clear. Energy is not fixed. Life can change in a moment. And often you sit down to do a reading, and yes, you may get messages that feel off. It's just not making sense to you. So just stop and watch what happens. Something in your life will come in that changes it all. Yeah, if you got a reading then, it would be based on information that's about to change anyway. You may receive a call or an email or something that changes the trajectory. Something happens that changes the direction. Some things are already in the works that are about to change the outcome. And so the reading may actually be better done at a better time to give you greater information for that new trajectory, that new direction, that new outcome. Yeah, sometimes it can be you and your energy, but sometimes it's just the timing, like where you are right now within the flow of life, where you are in the flow of change, where you are in the flow of direction. So life is constantly changing, and sometimes where you are is at a point that is about to be shifted. So at those times, the readings can quote unquote feel off. You will feel you're not getting quite literally a read. It's because it's in flux, it's shifting. So what's amazing is when you notice this, when you're doing a reading and it feels off to you, hold off on doing the reading and see what happens. You're going to see something comes in your life that changes, and you see how now when you get a reading, it will be more on point now for that change after that fluctuation has occurred. So if it's feeling off, it's off for a reason. And so do readings when it literally feels more on point. So quite literally what happened to me, like I sat down to do like a reading for the week or the month or whatever, and all of a sudden these cards came out. It made no sense. I put them back in the deck. I did it again. It made no sense. What it was like, say if I pick up the phone to call you and I want to discuss a matter that I already have an intention to discuss with you, and I pick up the phone and you're just gibbering all the stuff that's about to happen in 5 minutes. Like, that's not giving me the answer for the week or the month. It's almost, the cards that had come out for me were literally when I stopped doing the reading because it felt off. All of a sudden, within the hour, something happened, and I could see the cards were frenetically like talking about that, but it still wasn't answering the question about the week or the month. And it felt off. So when you feel off, it could be, the number one reason is we always talk about our own energy. We feel depleted, tired, scattered, overwhelmed. It's not the right time our energy-wise to do it. But quite frankly, and this is what this reading is all about, sometimes when you're doing a tarot reading, it feels off. What's happening, it's beyond you. It's quite literally beyond you. It's where you are in the flow of life that everything is going to change or fluctuate. And these cards are reflecting that change. You're literally not getting a read because it's in a state of flux. Very often you'll find that's the case. It's pretty amazing. So if you feel it's off and it's not your energy, you're feeling fine, just hold off on doing the reading and watch what happens. You'll see that something happens in your life that changes the direction, the trajectory. Life is constantly changing. So sometimes it's like in that state of shifting or that change. You wait a couple of hours, wait a day, do the reading. It will be more on point. because it has settled down, whatever was shifting, changing, influx. So what happened quite literally was, why I can answer this right at this time, this is a question that's come up a lot. I literally lived it, where I was doing a reading for myself and then it just felt off. No matter what I did, it felt off. And then I stopped and then everything changed, everything flipped. Things flipped. So now when I do a reading, it's going to reflect that flip. So yes, we have cards for that. Don't get me wrong. We have the Tower for change. We have this. But what I'm saying is, life is such a series of fluctuations and flow that sometimes if it feels off, you're better to just stop the reading and wait, and you'll see what's amazing in your life. Something will shift or fluctuate. So when you sit down later and do a reading, it's more on point. And that's what we want. We want a reading that's more on point. And that's literally what they're saying. So at those times when the reading feels quote unquote off, you will feel you are not quite literally getting a read. It's because it's in flux, it's shifting. And yes, I know we have cards for that, but I'm telling you, it's actually better if it's feeling off. Don't do the reading for yourself and wait, and you'll get a more on target reading. There's probably, and what's amazing is, do it as an experiment. If it feels off, just wait. You'll see some kind of flux or change happens in your life. And then when you sit down for a reading, it's going to be more on point. What I noticed, what I was saying was, I sat down and asked the question for the week or the month or something, and all these cards came out, like all these things. It just felt so much all over the place, and I could tell. I stopped, and then within the hour, all these things came in and fluctuated all the stuff I could see. And so do that for yourself. So whenever it feels off, it's either your energy, absolutely, but then also sometimes, quite literally, it's beyond you. And like they said, life isn't constantly changing. It's in a state of flux. So maybe it's literally just not the right time to do that reading, and wait an hour, wait a day or two, and you'll see, you'll get it much more on point. I just thought that was so amazing. I understood, when you just understand it, it's like everything, life changes, life's in flux. So you'll get a more on point reading when it feels quite literally on point, and you'll get a clearer reading. So when doing a tarot reading, if it feels off, this is what's happening. It's either your energy or something beyond you. And yeah, definitely put it off for when you're feeling it's more on point. Quite literally, hold off until it feels more on point. But what I find was so interesting, when you do hold off, watch what happens, because something comes in your life that totally shifts, changes, whatever. You could see that it must have been fluctuating, and you'll get a better reading if you hold off. So I wanted to pass this on because it's really helpful to keep in mind, because sometimes when people I know in the comments, they blame themselves. Oh, I'm not getting a great reading. It's not clear to me. This isn't working. It feels off. Sometimes this is the case. It's not us. It's not the reading. It's not that you're tired or depleted or unfocused. It's things are in a state of flux. Maybe it's unclear, and just wait an hour, wait a day, and you'll see it will be more clear. It's just amazing. And it's not just us, our life in flux, but other things in the works, behind the scenes, things are in flux. So at that moment in time, depending on where you're at, it might not be a great reading at that point. So just wait. So yeah, so this is everything. When doing a tarot reading, it feels, quote unquote, it feels off. What's happening? This was a spirit message tip to keep in mind too. And it literally just happened to me. It was so clearly had just happened to me. I was like, oh my God, let me answer this question right now, because it's right on the top of my head, what just happened. And you'll find evidence for yourself that that's the case. It's just really interesting. It's like, don't blame yourself. It feels off. Don't blame yourself. Just wait, and you'll see something comes in, and it's like, it was in flux. It was changing the trajectory, the direction, the change. And then once that occurs, you'll get a clearer reading. It's amazing. Yeah, so I wish you the best with your tarot readings. If it feels off, just wait. And yeah, and wait until it literally feels more on point, until it feels more on point. I wish you the best. Take care. Bye-bye.